The movie is actively punishing you for paying attention. The payoff only surprises you if you simply don't observe what's happening on screen. If you are paying attention to what's happening, you realize that the other characters have to be willfully deaf, dumb, and blind for the plot to even occur. And again, there's no intrigue, no nuance, no guesswork, no inferences to be made, no theory crafting, no immersion. You know, everything that makes The Lighthouse great. You're told explicitly what's going on, and watching characters slowly catch up to your knowledge level while ignoring the blatant demonic happenings around them in contradiction to both their character and the setting of the story. And it does get worse.
I be the Witch of the Wood, and I have come to steal ye.
Oh boy. It's a wolf. No, mate, it's a witch, ain't it? It's a witch in that woods.
Joe thought I can't leave the yard. I could go to the brook before he let the witch take Sam.
Quietly.
It were a wolf stole Sam.
A witch. I've seen her.
No, guys, stop asking that question. You're making it sound like a mystery when it's suspense.
Does this not look like witchcraft?
What witch?
It's suspense, guys. That's why the movie works. Don't ask who...
All right, who done it?
No! Stop that! No!
The goal of criticism should not be to destroy films. Film criticism should not be negative.
Please stop criticizing the movie. This tattoo was very expensive, and I don't want to feel bad for getting it. Yeah, this guy really has a tattoo of this movie poster on his arm. What a thing to just brand yourself with for life. You know, I can see why somebody with a tattoo like this would start a campaign to end film criticism. It's a solid motive for his character. There is no movie on the planet that I like well enough that I would permanently etch it into my skin. Not Pulp Fiction, or Heart of America, or even Elf. But if I had to pick something, I would at least pick a movie that isn't a dumpster fire so that I don't advertise my idiocy to the world around me every day of the week. This guy's gotta wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and be reminded, wow, I am a fool. Can you just imagine being married to this guy? You roll over and the first thing you see every day is a teenage girl's ass imprinted onto your husband's arm, and you're reminded, oh yeah, I married a moron. Just the first thing you get to think about every day is the witch. What a curse.
The more the video goes on, the more that tattoo seems like a cope. Like, I have good taste in film, look.
Oh my god, you might actually be right. I don't know, but that's like a legit possibility.
Would I do
like
this if I didn't have
so
good
much.
taste in film?
Yeah.
Why the witch?
Because it's really good.
What? No.
It is really good, but like good enough to get an arm tattoo of?
Rags, CJ, you guys are joking, right? How does a list like this even exist?
Clickety-clackety. Clickety-clackety.
Oh, right, we were in the middle of something.
I be the Witch of the Wood.
Mercy, come out.
I be not Mercy. I be the Witch of the Wood.
She's a witch of the wild, she is. She'll have us for toads. All right, so the three stooges here are hanging out at the watering hole, and Mercy goes,
Did someone call for a witch?
I have come to steal ye. Hear me stick a flying through the trees. Clickety-clackety. Clickety-clackety.
Now, how is Thomasin going to reply to this? There are a few options. Let's think. She could say, stop doing that. She could say, I'm going to tell your mother if you don't stop doing that. She could explain to her sister that what she's doing is both insensitive and unwise, how you shouldn't talk like this in 1600s Puritan New England. Or conversely, she could declare, I am a satanic witch. I killed my infant brother 6 days ago, and I will kill you too because I am a satanic witch. Let's see which one she chooses.
'Twas I what stole him. I be the Witch of the Wood. When I sleep, my spirit slips away from my body and dances naked with the devil. He bade me bring him an unbaptized babe, so I stole Sam and I gave him to my master.
Okay, so she rolled a 1 on that one.
For chance I'll boil and bake thee, since we're a lack of food. How I crave to sink my teeth into thy pink flesh.
You fucking with me, right?
Okay, we know she's joking here, right? Despite what the musical cues suggest? We know she's trying to frighten her little sister, and that she's not really the Witch of the Wilds. Except, we do know for a fact that there's a scene coming up in which she's going to strip naked in some sort of ritualistic fashion. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that this was a scene in which she, comes out as a witch, and we know that it's coming up in the movie because it was the literal first look we got at this character. If we're meant to sit here and wonder whether or not she's being genuine, if this scene is meant to cast doubt on her in the eyes of the audience, this is somewhat undermined by the movie confirming for us in the first frame of the DVD menu that she is being functionally genuine here. Allegedly. We're not there yet. Again, this was my single greatest problem with the movie on my first watch. Watching any given scene and knowing that this was coming up sometime soon really wrecked the experience. From the time Thomasin opens her mouth, it hardly matters because the movie has already been spoiled. I can't for a second believe that she's this sweet, innocent little lamb that you want me to think she is when I know that this scene is coming up. I'm wondering, is this going to be the next scene? Is it coming in 10 minutes? Surely it won't be at the end of the movie. There's no way they spoiled the climax of the film on the DVD menu. Right? Yeah, I think they really should have just gone with a montage of every character death in the movie. That would have suited the film nicely. Now, ultimately, whether this is all done in jest or if it's a genuine confession, it is still a very, very stupid decision. In fact, it's bordering on suicidal, and she's climbing the fence as we speak. Have you ever heard of the Salem witch trials? Did you ever read The Crucible? In the 17th century, the political climate was such that even a 12-year-old child could grasp the severity of a witchcraft accusation. And I have a hard time believing that any person would cast this aspersion upon themselves in this setting. I could see this if this came from a character who is around age 8 or 9 who could say something dumb without thinking, especially while playing pretend or something. But this character is supposed to be 18, I assume. At least that would make the nude scenes and creep shots a little less creepy. Because yeah, I forgot to mention that. This scene opened with the cameraman sticking his camera down her shirt, just this extended cleavage shot. Now this is supposed to represent the POV of the little brother and inform us that he's perving on his sister. Do with that what you will. But get this, this is probably the strongest setup in the entire movie. But we'll get to that later. The actress was 18, almost 19 at the release of this movie. Is she meant to be depicting a character who's 11? That's about the high end I could extend to for the minimally developed brain that one would need to carry out the things she does in this movie. And this single event is pretty much the crux of the entire plot. This one bad decision will lead to a world of pain and an eternity of damnation for her and likely her entire family. This one impossibly asinine decision. Let's look now at a similar scene from a better movie.
What do you want? Are you a ghost?
Sure, a ghost.
Don't make me run, kid. I'm far too hungry, and you know how much we love the taste of blood.
I'm not a ghost, Johannes. I'm something worse, but I think you already know that, don't you?
You know what I am? Say it!
A Jew.
So these two definitely have a lot in common, one about a Jewish girl in the 1940s and one about a self-proclaimed witch in the 1630s. What makes one work and the other not work is motive. She's doing this to survive. She is saving her own life by doing this. Thomasin is doing the exact opposite. She's actively killing herself by doing this. And let me head this off. This is not simply a bad decision that she makes. Let's try to conceptualize what a bad decision is. What makes a decision bad? A bad decision can be well-intentioned, but have unforeseen negative consequences. We see this in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. The main character makes a very consequential decision, for good, heartfelt reasons, and faces, well, a consequence for his actions. What feels like a good decision to him turns out to be a very bad decision. He's got a motive, he has something that he wishes to gain, and is unaware of the consequences for his actions. In fact, this is true for multiple characters in this movie, a series of misguided choices leading to outcomes unanticipated by the characters. Elsewhere in the film, we see the main character making a decision that he likely knows is bad, motivated by his own self-preservation. It's a bad choice, and he likely knows that it's wrong in the moment, even with his limited understanding of what's going on around him, but weighing the outcomes, he chooses the one that best benefits him. A bad decision can be made with ill intent and still have a solid motive behind it. Back to Jojo Rabbit, this character, Elsa, has a choice to make. She's been discovered by a member of the Hitler Youth who will likely report her to the Gestapo and have her killed. She can either take a passive approach and simply hope that he doesn't do that, or she can take an aggressive approach and try to scare him into silence. She has a solid motive, good intent, and this appears to give her a good outcome. This is a good decision. These are 3 different types of decisions, with different intents and outcomes, all informed by a solid motive. They're also all set in Nazi Germany, because that's the severity level we're operating under, life and death consequences. But neither the writer-director nor these characters seem to take this subject matter very seriously. Take Thomasin. She seems pretty fond of babies, particularly this baby, and it strikes me as odd for her to now be so flippant about claiming to have killed this baby, who disappeared less than a week prior. Well, I know we all process grief in different ways, but only some of them will land you in prison. And that's the best case scenario when you claim to have killed and eaten a baby. If you're going to have a character say something so morally reprehensible, something that's going to get them burned at the stake, you'd better have a damned good reason. So, what do we know about this character? Okay, what do we officially know about this character at this point in the film? She prays, she does chores, she walks with a bucket. So, in short, nothing that would inform a decision like this. She doesn't have good intent here. She's not protecting herself, nor anyone else. She's exploiting the death of an infant, and not to her benefit, but to her detriment. She's not making this choice at anyone else's expense. She's digging a hole in which to bury herself. Any combination of factors that would make this a viable decision are simply not present in this story. She has no motive, incomprehensible intent, and a predictable negative outcome.
We have found the witch, may we burn her!
If ever thou tellest thy mother of this, I'll witch thee and thy mother, and draw us too! Stop thy tears and swear thy silence.
I swear.
I'm doing the thing to scare you into not telling people that I did the thing. So, maybe just don't do the thing? Thomasin, you created the problem. You wouldn't need to scare people into silence if you didn't accuse yourself of witchcraft. Note the scene from Jojo Rabbit. The threat of death existed prior to her aggression, and her aggression was a response to this. Anything resembling self-preservation here is just damage control. And any motive she possesses would drive her not to do this. If Thomasin really is a witch, all she has to do is not admit to it. If Thomasin is not a witch, all she has to do is not claim to be a witch. If she does the opposite in either case, she is dooming herself to death. She would be acting entirely in opposition to her own interests, namely her own survival. I'm not joking when I said she's fucking suicidal. Lol, mom hates you. Oh yeah, well I killed a baby. Way to shut her down with facts and logic. I imagine I'm supposed to believe that this line got under her skin so much that this somehow justifies self-immolation on this scale, but it doesn't. Even a child understands the severity of this claim. That is why this is a plot point later in this same movie. Later in the movie, I am meant to believe that these characters understand the grave nature of accusations of witchcraft, but early in the movie, I am meant to believe that they do not. When I say this is incredible, I mean that literally. It is not credible. It is not believable. I do not and cannot believe that a character in this setting would make a decision so ignorant of the setting in which they live. And yet, it is perhaps the least offensive decision that she makes in the movie. That's baffling. So she hurts herself at her own expense and she gains nothing. And this is done exclusively because we have a meta need to establish tension and drama. We need the other characters to suspect that she's a witch, and I guess there was no organic way to accomplish this, so we'll just have her do something crazy and call herself a witch to spite herself. What was that I said a few months ago about how if you write in characters who take actions to their own detriment for the sole purpose of advancing the story, that you need to redraft your script? Because I stand by that, 100%.
Why tell Mercy those horrible fancies?
Thou hate me now too.
Shut the fuck up, you petulant adult woman. Where on earth is this coming from? He very calmly asked you a perfectly logical question about the incomprehensibly illogical thing he just witnessed, and you're gonna throw this little shit fit, have yourself a little pity party because you are stupid and do stupid things? This all stands in stark contrast to what happened just 3 minutes earlier when you were sharing this really nice moment. She's gone through playing 3 different characters in the span of like 90 seconds here. Is this supposed to be a movie, or is it just a showcase of Anya Taylor-Joy's acting range? What's worse is that the only one of these 3 disparate characters that we're going to see again is the stupid one. And then we get the Cup subplot. There's a subplot about a cup. And it makes no sense. Catherine here owns a silver cup, and her husband sells it to buy rabbit traps. But she thinks that Thomasin took it, so she calls her a sneaky witch thief, and Dad just sits there and lets her take the blame for something he did. What an asshole.
Shall touched it, Catherine.
You got anything else to say? You want to maybe set the record straight?
How thou could lose me father's silver wine cup in this hovel, I cannot know.
Haven't we?
Peace, child. He's gone. Did a wolf vanish out too?
Whoa. Okay, hold on. This is actually a good line of dialogue. It's probably the first good line of dialogue in this whole movie, so let's appreciate it while it's here. Concluding this conversation with a sarcastic jab confirms for us she doesn't believe Thomasin's defenses, and to use the wolf as the vehicle for her sarcasm is telling as well, mocking both Thomasin's defenses now and the wolf narrative as a whole. It's clear she doesn't quite believe that a wolf took the baby, and the willingness to invoke the death of her own child as a means to belittle Thomasin is really chilling. She blames Thomasin for the loss of Samuel and wants to hurt her. And what works here is that she's not flippant about this reference either, she's very deliberate. The weight of her words comes from how seriously she takes all of this, and her willingness to wield this loss as a cudgel informs us just how serious she is. All of that from this little line. Damn, it's a shame there isn't more of this in the script.
What is amiss in this farm? It's not natural.
It's them! It's them right there! You remember from the song? Remember the goat song? This is almost a good piece of foreshadowing. The question is asked, and the answer is hinted at. It feels very organic. We want to see everyone's faces around the dinner table, but it feels like the order of the shots was selected very intentionally, as a little gift to the attentive viewer. Unfortunately, if you were paying close attention elsewhere, then you already knew this. If I wanted to go even more cynical, you might say that this pan around the table, looking at the likely suspects, paints this as though it's supposed to be a mystery story, which it ain't. So after dinner, the parents are having a little chat about the missing cup, and she's like, you know, if I still had that silver cup, we could probably sell it and buy rabbit traps. Bingo! There you go! Problem solved, there's your out, dude! Just say, honey, great news! I actually did that exact thing a week ago. We're on the same page here. So these two characters both want the exact same thing. But we can't acknowledge that because we need drama. We're supposed to be building toward an explosive argument, so we can't have them just resolve this right here like they would. Why did you write this in? Why did you give both of these characters the exact same motivation to sell cups and buy rat traps and still have this fake conflict off the back of it? This is Loki Season 2 level shit. What are you doing? As I'm writing this, I'm seeing a very clear pattern here where every character just does incomprehensible things to manufacture drama. That's not a good sign. That isn't the mark of a well-written story. Watching a scene like this, the pieces are in place for us to consider, is this character insane? Is there something psychologically wrong with her? Is there a reason why she's behaving this way? Is this going to play into the story in some way? But I cannot believe this to be the case because these traits are not unique to this individual character. If you want to have a character who's distinctly irrational, they need to be just that, distinct. You need a control variable. You need to show me what normal, functioning people behave like in this story so that the irrational character has something to bounce off of. That's why a comedy act often has a straight man. You don't know what strange is unless you differentiate it from the normal. But when every character behaves like this, it's more likely that you just have a bad story. So anyway, the payoff for this Cup subplot is used as a scapegoat to cut this scene short because it also makes no sense.
She's old enough. She must leave to serve another family.
So the parents decide that they need money, Arthur, so they're going to send Thomasin off to get a job. She'll work as a maid, or they'll arrange a marriage or something. You know, this whole isolation in the woods vibe is kind of ruined, knowing that they are within walking distance of civilization and can just hold jobs and use money to buy goods and services. But the kids overhear this and they aren't happy about it. And this is the best scene in the movie right here. Caleb's gonna sneak out before sunrise and check the rabbit traps. He figures, if we have food, then we won't need money, and if we don't need money, they won't get rid of my sister. But Thomasin catches him sneaking about and wants to go with him, presumably because she figures that it's dangerous to let him go into the woods on his own. This all speaks to the strength of their relationship, Caleb willing to make this trip for the sake of his sister, and her desire to protect him.
Let me along.
I cannot.
If you don't let me along with you, I'll wake Mother and Father this instant.
It's basic stuff, but I like that we don't need to see the conclusion of this conversation. Caleb protests, Thomasin makes this threat, and we cut away. It's like a visual metaphor. The discussion is over, and so is the scene. It makes this line feel really decisive. Again, lots of good character work here, especially when you take into account that what Thomasin's saying is effectively nonsense. They both have the same goal of not wanting Thomasin to get sent off the farm, so to accomplish this, she's going to stop the person who's trying to accomplish her goal. If he doesn't let her help him to help her, then she'll go get them to stop him from helping her. Right. But in reality, I think this was an idle threat from her. She knows that what she's threatening makes no sense and is actually a hindrance to her, but Caleb isn't thinking critically enough to realize that it's a hollow threat. I think it works here. It works within their character and strengthens their character in the process. There is good dialogue in this movie. There are good scenes in this movie. The motive for entering the woods here is solid. Caleb knows where the traps are and wants to check the traps, to get a rabbit, to appease his parents, to keep Thomasin around. You can trace a series of causes and effects all the way back to the start of the film. They're expelled from the village, so they have to live in the wilderness. Because they live in the wilderness, Samuel is stolen by a witch. Because Samuel is stolen, the family search the woods. Because they search the woods, Caleb knows where the rabbit traps are. Because he's been to the woods before, he can search for the rabbits now. Because he enters the woods now, he's ambushed by the witch. Because Caleb is ambushed by the witch, the rest of the plot occurs. Did you catch that, though? That's not the plot of The Witch. That was my suggested edit of the plot. The family didn't search the woods to find Samuel, and the search for Samuel is entirely detached from Caleb's trip to the woods. You remember this scene? Samuel being stolen actually has no impact on the plot beyond this point, and the remainder of the film is actually driven entirely by the fallout of Caleb being abducted by the witch. My proposed changes would actually bolster the value of this scene. You'd have a really clear through line for the entire story. But as it is, the plot just has a break right here, and then a new plot is started. This bad scene at the beginning of the film is limiting the potential of this scene halfway through the film. Same's true for the character work. This scene shows us that Thomasin clearly cares about her brother, which makes it only stranger that she was so callous about the death of her younger brother. It makes this a little confusing. Who is this character? It's not the same as this character. And dare I say it, if we didn't already know that there was a witch, if we didn't already know that the kids were in league with Satan, we could wonder whether this is all an act. Maybe this was the real Thomasin. Maybe she has some ulterior motive here. If these ideas had room to breathe, we might see this as a mystery rather than character inconsistency. But here we are. They were hungry, so they learned about rabbits and went into the woods to get ambushed by the witch. So the witch switches into a rabbit and spooks the horse, and Thomasin falls off and bonks her head. She wakes up later, Caleb's gone, and she reunites with her family. Do you wonder what happened to Caleb? Is he okay? Is he gonna come back? Well, if you were worried about flexing them thinking muscles, have no fear. The movie's gonna show you exactly what happened to Caleb. No mystique, no mystery. There is nothing to learn. Now, to be fair, this is a fine scene actually, and if this were the first time that we saw the witch, it could be a great scene. Meeting this mysterious figure, unsure who she is or what she's doing here, feeling suspicious, uneasy. Is this the witch? Could she be real? You know, the things Caleb must be feeling right now. Now, the Wikipedia plot summary, and maybe this seems like a weird thing to cite, but I'll explain this later, but the Wikipedia plot summary states that this is the same witch from earlier. And this was my takeaway from my first watch. I thought she used the baby paste as like a magic de-aging cream, like a Countess Bathory. So this is what she looks like now. But it's also very possible, and maybe more likely since we know that the witch can shapeshift, right? She's assumed this form specifically to seduce and capture Caleb because he's got a natural weakness. Now, I only bring this up because there's actually some disagreement on this point as to whether this is the same witch or a different witch, and whether the family are under attack by multiple witches. But of course, if that were true, then they'd have to rename the movie now, wouldn't they? So the witch actually lives here in the woods in a little Hansel and Gretel hut within walking distance for a child. You know, it's a good thing that a man with a dog and a gun didn't bother searching the woods for a missing baby, or else he might have found this hut and shot and killed the witch, and there'd be no movie. So the house is like right here, and the witch and the baby were right here, and they went and searched every other direction that wasn't the direction that the baby was taken in.
Tell us why you went to the wood.
Oh, it's decide time. Thomasin's been asked a question. What's she gonna do? Will she A, answer the question, or B, do something completely off the wall? Let's find out.
Let me find favour in your eyes.
Child, tell me and I will.
Speak! I am... Speak! Speak! Yeah. Speak! Speak!
Tell us why you went to the wood.
I promised.
I cannot.
I can't, I promised. This line of dialogue is so impossibly bad, it's befuddling. It's preposterous. There aren't enough syllables in the English language to describe how broken this one line of dialogue is. You fucking idiot, just say that you went into the woods to get the damn rabbit. Because you did. That's what you did. And if you just told the truth at no consequence to yourself or any other person, you would be totally in the clear because you did nothing wrong. When they accuse you of whatever, just say, we went to check the trap. Because if you mention the trap, where it is, you can prove definitively that you went and checked the trap. Instead, she decides to make herself sound as dodgy and suspicious as possible as a bullshit vehicle to elevate the tension in the film. And what's worse, rather than telling the truth, she's lying.
I promised.
No, you didn't. At no point prior to this did you make any promise to anybody, any character regarding anything. There is no such line in the movie. There was no promise. Is this a leftover from a rewrite of the script? But let's pretend that there was a promise. You promised not to tell your parents that you went to check the traps, even though you'd have no reason to hide that from them. So, what was the plan then? What were you going to do when you returned home at midday? Your parents will have woken up in the morning and been wondering where their 2 kids, their gun, their horse, and their dog have been for 6 hours, and you show back up on the farm with a rabbit, and they will ask, "Where have y'all been?" And Thomasin will reply, "I can't tell you, I promised." This rabbit comes from nowhere. This rabbit comes from nowhere. I mean, if you really want to convince your family that you're the Witch of the Wilds, persuading them that you conjured a rabbit out of thin air after disappearing into the dark forest is one surefire way to accomplish that. And you don't mean to tell me that she's making up an excuse not to exonerate herself. She has to lie in order to kill herself here, but she is very devoted to that cause. She needs people to believe that she's the witch. Let me really break this down here. When she is asked a question, she has 2 options. Option number 1, tell the truth. You went into the woods to check the rabbit trap. You can prove that this is what you did. By telling the truth, you lose nothing, you have everything to gain. Option 2, You don't tell the truth and instead refuse to tell anyone where you were, what happened, or where your brother went. You gain nothing and only dig yourself into a pit, cast aspersions on yourself, and paint yourself as a very dishonest person who might be a witch. You have nothing to gain and everything to lose. You have literally 0 reasons to choose option 2. This character has no reason and no motivation to choose option 2. It is entirely a detriment to her, but she chooses it anyway, even though she gains nothing from it. You know who does gain something from this choice, however? The writer. Because the writer puppeteered this character into shooting herself in the foot, he can now use this scene as a springboard for more drama and tension. So we're just going to have characters reference things that are not in the movie as a vehicle to move the plot forward. This is where the mask falls away, where you really see what this movie is made of. This is the real twist. This is the actual reveal, when you see that the director is really just puppeteering these characters, not in line with who they are or what would motivate them, but with what would bring him closer to his idea of a satisfying climax. The only motivation that she cites is literally not in the script. I can't get past that. She is making a reference to something that is not in the narrative, and even if it were in the narrative, would A, not be sufficient to have her doom herself here, and B, not make any sense in the narrative anyway. Maybe that's why it was cut? Because it's fucking stupid? There's piss yourself to own the libs, and then there's piss yourself, gain nothing, and die. So how do we possibly get out of this situation? What could these characters possibly say to each other at this point?
Speak!
I took thy father's cup.
Oh yeah, just drop this conversation and do the Cup subplot instead. That get out of jail free card. Just in case you write yourself into a corner, you can just pull that one, and then you don't actually have to write an ending to this scene. Phenomenal. So the parents go outside to argue, and then they awkwardly shuffle back inside so that they and Thomasin can switch places because we need Thomasin to be outside to find Caleb. It's very strange. Why did you set the argument outside if you needed Thomasin to be outside instead? Is it because arguing in the rain is more dramatic?
Will.
What?
Think.
Think what?
Think.
I have no thoughts.
Yeah, I know. So the next day, they're taking care of Caleb because he's been witched. He's been hexed. I don't know why the witch sent him back here, but I guess she does.
Peace thou thing, Mercy. Thomasin.
Oh, they got more songs. They got a whole album coming out. They have multiple songs about how Satan Goat is their king.
Anybody got a problem with this? No.
Who taught them multiple worship songs about a goat? Was it you? Was it you? Hey, if your kids are singing, dancing prodigies, maybe you ought to send them off to work. Like, what's Thomasin gonna do? You got a whole ass, circus sideshow right here. I swear these kids would be less conspicuous if they just erected a golden calf in the front yard. But no, nobody notices. Nobody cares. They've been switched off. This must happen so regularly on this farm. They are so often singing satanic anthems. It's such a common occurrence that nobody even bats an eye when it happens. And this line is delivered by somebody named Thomasina, whoever that is. Now they all rush into the room and the twins start spurking out because they're possessed by Satan. Now who saw that coming? Everyone in the room says a big prayer and...
Fear no evil, for thou art with me.
Well, that's it then. Redemption complete. Seems to me like the demon was expelled and his soul was saved. I mean, the Wikipedia plot summary says it was. Caleb goes into violent convulsions and passionately proclaims his love for Christ before dying peacefully. Yep, that's what this is. Fun fact, did you know that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, that your soul will be saved? These characters do. It's their religion. But you wouldn't know it from the way they act going forward, from the way that they're written.
My son is dead. Damned.
Caleb did what cry Jesus.
The devil.
Ah, can you believe it? Caleb got his soul taken by the devil. Not the kids, though. The kids are fine. But anyway, this is a sad moment. Their son just died. It's really tragic. So, let's see what they do now. Will they, option A, call Thomasin a witch for some reason? Okay, let's not even fuck around here. You know that's exactly what they're gonna do.
Get away from him! Get me gone!
This movie is so stupid. And the only reason this isn't completely insane is because Thomasin has made herself out to be a witch by actively working to make people suspect that she's a witch for no reason. Routinely.
A council will be called, and thy life is... Thy life.
Will you not believe me?
I saw the serpent in my son. You stopped their prayers.
They lie.
I saw it.
What did you see? Did you see her praying? Did you see her pray until a demon was expelled from your son? You could send her ass to the Vatican. She can get a job as a fucking exorcist. This is the least witchly thing that she does in the whole movie. But this is what puts her on your radar? And don't throw James 2:19 at me. Don't come at me with Matthew chapter 4. These characters themselves try to pull this 2 minutes later, but again, I don't really want to hear it coming from them. They're suddenly experts on demonology when the only reason they're here is because of their selective hearing for the past hour of the film. You cannot cite the characters' inconsistency as a defense of the consistency of the characters. If this is right here, then it was wrong back here. But Thomasin's the witch? How about this guy? This is the guy who didn't bother searching for the missing baby. I think he's the fucking witch. I think she's the fucking witch. Literally anybody but Thomasin could be the witch, but the DVD menu doesn't want me to believe that. Furthermore, not this scene or any other. At no time do I get to legitimately wonder or suspect any of these characters of being the witch, because you already told me they're not. I already know who's to blame, so this is all a waste of time, and you keep doing this. I'm starting to see where that hollow feeling came from. But these characters are so stupid. It's so irritating to watch because I can't relate to what they're doing.
The adversary oft comes in the shape of a he-goat, and whispers, aye, whispers!
And he's got this look on his face like, duh, that is my religion, isn't it? Satanic happenings in my house? Oh, well, I've got to get to the bottom of this. Where's this character been the whole movie? So Thomasin explains the plot of the film to the other characters in the film, and Dad runs around demanding answers. Is this true? What's going on? Yeah, dumbass, you'd know it was true if you were the same character in this scene as you were in this scene, but you weren't. You were switched off. This is one of the few times that Thomasin does anything resembling reasonable, and what she's doing is voicing the concerns of the audience to the other characters in the story. She's just inches away from that fourth wall. And why is she the one who has to explain this to these characters? Has this man never heard of this trope before? Where did she learn it if not from him? But she calls them witches, and they call her witches, and then they got locked in the barn. What a twist! The literal only possible outcome of her claiming to be a witch is that the characters in the story will suspect that she's a witch, and those chickens have finally come home to roost. Her response? It's just a prank, bro.
Get to the devil in the woods!
They lie.
What say you?
Her baddest kept secret from you!
But just to quiet her.
Speak back and we Satan!
Satan! I'm sorry, you thought it was reasonable to jest about killing and eating your baby brother? You deserve this. I don't feel any sympathy for this character. She's not facing injustice. She's not being unfairly persecuted. She's just retarded. She's victimizing herself. She's persecuting herself. She's framing herself for murder. She is her own Abigail Williams.
Does he really speak to thee?
What do you think? Who do you think taught them to sing that song? Was it you? Did you teach them that? No? Well, you're quickly running out of options. Of course he freaking speaks to them. But here's a question. Why? Why did Black Phillip teach them to sing that song? Is he motivated by anything? Does he gain anything? Did he really call the kids over here like, okay guys, this is going to be great. We need people to not know that I'm an evil Satan goat. So what I need you to do is publicly proclaim that I'm an evil Satan goat. I'll even teach you a song. Go sing it in front of your parents. Really, the next time you're walking down the street and you see some fool with a tattoo of the movie on their shirt, stop them and politely ask them, oh, I've seen that witch movie. Hey, who taught the kids in that movie to sing the Black Phillip song? And give them a minute, okay? Be patient. It's gonna take a little bit for the gears upstairs to really rev up, but they'll probably reply with, well, it was Black Phillip, the goat. He speaks to them. He taught them the song. And that would be right. So you can simply ask, why? Why did he want his identity exposed before his would-be inquisitors? Is it because he knows that they won't act in accordance with their character, because that would end the movie? Is he fully conscious of his plot armor? Not a single character in the movie, outside of Caleb, right, has solid motivations for the things that they do. Thomasin, Mom, Dad, the twins, Black Phillip, every last one of them are busted, and it still somehow gets worse from here.